No one in the village cared about the poor girl living in the old house. People passed by every day, whispering stories about her. But one night, a stranger knocked on her door, and discovered a secret that would change everything. In a quiet village surrounded by tall trees and dusty roads, there stood an old broken house at the edge of the forest. The villagers avoided that place. They said it was cursed, or haunted by the past. But the truth was much simpler. A young woman named Elena lived there alone. Elena was only 22 years old. She had soft brown hair and tired eyes that carried a sadness deeper than anyone could understand. Her parents had died years ago in an accident, leaving her alone with nothing but the old house they once loved. The villagers rarely spoke to her. Some pitied her, most ignored her. Children were told not to go near the house. Adults whispered rumors whenever her name was mentioned. Poor girl, they would say. She must be hiding something. But Elena never defended herself. She simply worked quietly every day, growing vegetables behind the house and fixing the broken walls with whatever little money she had. Still, loneliness followed her everywhere. One cold evening, dark clouds covered the sky and the wind howled through the trees. Elena sat inside near the fireplace, reading an old book her mother once loved. Suddenly, knock, knock, knock. She froze. No one ever came to her house. For a moment she wondered if it was just the wind. But the knock came again, louder this time. Carefully, Elena walked to the door and opened it. Standing outside in the rain was a tall man wearing a long dark coat. His name was Daniel Carter. His eyes looked tired, like someone who had traveled a long way. "I'm sorry to disturb you," Daniel said politely. "My car broke down near the forest road. Could I stay here until the storm passes?" Elena hesitated. No stranger had ever asked her for help before. But something about Daniel seemed honest. "Come in," she said softly. Daniel stepped inside and looked around the house. It was old, but clean and warm. "You live here alone?" he asked. "Yes," Elena replied. They sat near the fireplace while the storm grew stronger outside. Daniel noticed something strange though. Despite living in such a poor house, Elena spoke with intelligence and calm confidence. She didn't sound like someone uneducated. After a while Daniel asked gently, "Why does everyone in the village avoid you?" Elena smiled sadly. "Because people prefer stories over truth." Daniel leaned forward with curiosity. "What truth?" Elena looked at the old wooden floor for a moment before answering. "My father was once the richest man in this village." Daniel's eyes widened. "What?" "Yes," she continued. "But when he refused to sell his land to a powerful company, they ruined his reputation. People believed the lies. After my parents died, no one cared about the truth anymore." Daniel stayed silent, but Elena wasn't finished. "There's something else," she said quietly. She stood up and walked to a locked wooden chest hidden near the wall. From inside it, she pulled out several documents. These papers prove the company cheated many villagers and stole their land. Daniel carefully looked at the documents. Then something surprising happened. He smiled. "Do you know which company this is?" he asked. Elena shook her head. Daniel took a deep breath. "I do." He paused before saying the words. "Because I'm the new owner." Elena's heart nearly stopped. She stepped back in shock. "You, what?" Daniel quickly raised his hands. "Wait, listen first." Daniel explained everything. The company had recently changed leadership. Daniel had bought it after discovering corruption inside the system. He had been traveling secretly to investigate villages where people were harmed by the old management. And Elena's village was the first place on his list. "I didn't expect to find someone brave enough to keep the evidence," Daniel said. Elena felt tears in her eyes. "For years, I thought no one would ever believe me." Daniel looked at her seriously. "I believe you." The next morning, Daniel called his legal team. Within weeks, the truth spread across the village. The company publicly admitted its crimes. Land was returned to families. Villagers who once ignored Elena came to apologize. Some even cried. But Elena wasn't angry. She simply smiled and forgave them. Because after years of loneliness, something wonderful had happened. Someone had finally listened. Months later, the old house near the forest looked different. It was repaired and surrounded by flowers. And Elena was no longer alone. Daniel often visited, not as a businessman, but as a friend who admired her courage. One evening as they watched the sunset together, Daniel said something that made Elena laugh. "You know, if my car hadn't broken down that night, I might never have met you. Elena smiled. Maybe it wasn't an accident. Sometimes life changes in the most unexpected ways. And sometimes, one knock on the door can chong.